In the Power universe, every choice comes with a price. Ghost thought he could outsmart the streets, and it cost him everything. Tariq believed he could play the game without fully knowing its rules, and he paid with blood, trust, and peace of mind. Now Tommy Egan stands at a point where one mistake could destroy everything he has left. The question is simple but deadly. Can Tommy survive without repeating the same moves that already buried Ghost and keep Tariq fighting for his life? Tommy's story is different from Ghost and Tariq, but it's tied to them in a way that makes his path even more dangerous. Unlike Ghost, Tommy has never dreamed of escaping the streets. He doesn't care about living two lives, one clean and one dirty. He's never wanted to play businessman in the daylight and drug kingpin at night. What Tommy wants is simple respect, loyalty, and power. But in the world he lives in, even simple goals can turn into deadly traps. Tommy has always been the one who embraced who he is. He doesn't wear a mask like Ghost did, and he doesn't try to fake his way into a different lifestyle like Tariq often does. That honesty makes him stronger, but it also makes him vulnerable. Everyone in this world knows exactly what Tommy is about. They know his habits, they know his temper, and they know he will always respond with violence when he feels betrayed. In a game that requires patience, control, and the ability to stay unpredictable, Tommy's loyalty to his own nature can be both his greatest weapon and his biggest weakness. What makes Tommy's position so high stakes is that he doesn't have the luxury of failing the way Ghost or Tariq did. Ghost tried to change the game, and when his plan collapsed, he still had the respect of the streets for a while. Tariq, even with his mistakes, still has the excuse of being young and learning as he goes. But Tommy is the veteran, the one who already knows how this life works. He doesn't get second chances because he's already been through enough battles, seen enough bodies, and buried enough friends. If Tommy slips now, it won't be seen as a mistake, it'll be seen as weakness. And in his world, weakness is something you don't get to recover from. More than anything, Tommy is carrying the weight of survival. He's the last one standing from the original crew. Ghost is gone. Angela is gone. Kanan is gone. Even those who once stood close to him have either betrayed him or met their end. All Tommy has left is his reputation and the future he's trying to build. If he stumbles, there's no safety net, no Ghost to cover his mistakes, and no family ties to protect him like Tariq has. Every move Tommy makes now must be clean, sharp, and calculated. Because one wrong step won't just end his rise, it'll end his story. That's why Tommy's stakes are higher than anyone else in the Power universe. Ghost played a double life and lost. Tariq rushed into the game and almost drowned. Tommy has the blueprint of their failures laid out right in front of him, but knowing the mistakes isn't enough. The real challenge is not falling into the same traps when the heat is on, when loyalty is tested, and when the streets call for blood. Because in Tommy's world, hesitation means death, and a wrong choice doesn't just cost power, it costs everything. Ghost was the kind of man who thought he could play two different games at the same time. On one side, he wanted to rule the streets, control the money, and sit at the top of the drug empire he built with his bare hands. On the other side, he dreamed of becoming someone new, a clean businessman, a man respected by politicians, and a father who could give his children a life far away from the blood and bullets. At first, it looked like he could pull it off. Ghost was smart, he was calculated, and he had the charisma to walk into different rooms without anyone questioning his place. But what made Ghost so powerful in the beginning is the same thing that led him to his downfall. He wanted to live two lives, and in this world, that's impossible. The streets don't forgive ambition that tries to walk away. Ghost thought he could separate his drug empire from his future, but the truth is, the game never lets you go. Every move he made to get out only pulled him deeper in. His enemies saw through him. His partners questioned his loyalty. Even his closest friends, like Tommy, started to doubt if Ghost was really committed to the life they had built together. That doubt turned into tension, and that tension became betrayal. Ghost's desire to leave the streets behind didn't just weaken him, it created cracks in the foundation of everything he worked for. Another mistake Ghost made was underestimating how dangerous the people around him really were. He believed his intelligence and charm could keep him safe, that his vision of becoming legit was strong enough to carry him through. But he ignored one simple truth. In the power universe, nobody forgets what you've done. Ghost thought his clean suit and nightclub would erase the bodies he left behind. He thought he could step into the world of politics and business while pretending the blood on his hands didn't exist. But every ghost from his past came back to haunt him. From rival crews to law enforcement to his own family. Ghost's refusal to fully commit to one life or the other gave everyone a reason to doubt him. And doubt is deadly. What made Ghost different from Tommy is that Ghost believed he could be two men in one body. He wanted to be James St. Patrick, the businessman, and Ghost, the kingpin, at the same time. But those two identities constantly fought against each other. Every decision pulled him in opposite directions. When he tried to be James, Ghost's enemies attacked his empire. When he leaned into Ghost, James's dream of legitimacy started falling apart. The conflict inside him spread to the people around him, until everyone from Angela to Tasha to Tariq felt the weight of his divided soul. Ghost thought he could have it all, but in the end, he lost it all because he refused to choose. And maybe the most tragic part of Ghost's mistake is how much he underestimated the cost of his own ambition. He thought he was untouchable. He believed he was smarter than everyone else in the room, always 5 steps ahead. But arrogance is the most dangerous drug in the power universe, and Ghost overdosed on it. His confidence blinded him to betrayal that was growing inside his own home. He didn't see how much anger was building in Tariq. He didn't see how Tommy's trust was breaking apart. He didn't even see how Angela's love couldn't save him from the life he chose. Ghost believed he could bend fate to his will, but the streets don't bend, they break you when you stop respecting them. Ghost's mistake wasn't just one decision. It was a pattern, a way of thinking that made him vulnerable without even realizing it. He thought he could play every side, control every outcome, and rise above the rules of the game. But the truth is, the rules never change, no matter how smart you are or how much power you hold. You can't live 2 lives forever. Eventually, one will destroy the other. And in Ghost's case, his dream of becoming James St. Patrick killed Ghost the Kingpin. And Ghost the Kingpin killed James St. Patrick. He ended up losing both identities, leaving nothing but a warning for the ones still alive in this game. You can't cheat the cost. For Tommy, that warning is everything. He saw Ghosts fall up close. He watched the cracks form and the empire collapse. But the question is whether Tommy will truly learn from it or whether his own pride, his own anger, will push him toward the same grave that Ghost dug for himself. Tariq St. Patrick grew up watching everything. He saw Ghost living 2 lives. He saw Tasha trying to protect the family, and he saw Tommy handling the streets with pure aggression. But instead of learning patience, Tariq wanted to prove he was smarter than all of them. He wanted respect without earning it, and power without paying the full price. That hunger is what pushed him into the game too fast, and it's the very thing that almost swallowed him whole. The truth about Tariq is that he never really had a childhood. From the beginning, he was surrounded by lies, betrayal, and violence. Ghost wanted him to believe in the image of James St. Patrick, the businessman, but Tariq saw the other side. He saw the blood, the drugs, and the chaos. And once Tariq tasted that world, he didn't want to step away, he wanted to control it. But his mistake was believing he could skip the steps it takes to really rule. He thought intelligence was enough. He thought playing chess in his head would protect him from the very real bullets in the street. And that's where he went wrong. Tariq's first major mistake was underestimating the people around him. He thought he could manipulate everyone, friends, enemies, even family, without ever paying the price. He lied, schemed, and betrayed, believing he was the smartest in every room. But intelligence without experience is dangerous. Tariq didn't understand the weight of loyalty or the way trust holds the game together. He burned bridges before he had even built them. Every move he made to outsmart others created more enemies than allies. And in a world built on connections, enemies are just ticking bombs waiting to go off. Another mistake Tariq made was carrying the arrogance he inherited from Ghost, but without Ghost's discipline. Ghost knew how to calculate, how to play the long game, how to move in silence until the right moment. Tariq, on the other hand, rushed into the fire. He wanted to prove himself so badly that he didn't realize he was playing into traps set by people with years of experience. His impatience made him reckless, and reckless in the power universe means dead or locked up. The only reason Tariq is still alive is because luck and circumstance saved him one strategy alone. But Tariq's biggest downfall was personal. He let anger control him. The betrayal he felt toward Ghost shaped his every choice. Instead of learning from Ghost's mistakes, he turned that anger into fuel, and that fuel made him blind. Tariq believed Ghost cared more about his empire than his own family, and so Tariq stepped into the game not just to build power, but to destroy what Ghost represented. He didn't realize that by walking into the same world Ghost lived in, he was already repeating the cycle. Tariq thought he was escaping his father's shadow, but every move he made tied him closer to it. That's why his journey feels like a loop, different face, same danger. The irony of Tariq's path is that he wanted freedom, but every decision trapped him deeper. School, business, relationships, none of them gave him real peace. Because no matter how hard he tried to balance, the streets always demanded more. That's the cost Ghost never explained, and the cost Tariq didn't respect until it was too late. Once you step into the game, you don't get to walk away clean. Every lie, every deal, every betrayal piles up until it crashes down on you. Tariq learned that lesson too late, and by then, he had already sacrificed trust, love, and safety. For Tommy, Tariq's mistakes are another warning. Ghost lost himself trying to live two lives, and Tariq almost lost himself trying to live one he wasn't ready for. Tommy doesn't have the same innocence as Tariq. He's a seasoned player. But if Tommy lets emotion drive his moves, or if he underestimates the enemies around him, he risks falling into the same cycle. The lesson from Tariq is simple. Power without patience leads to downfall. And no amount of intelligence can replace the wisdom of experience. Tariq's story shows that rushing into the game is just as dangerous as trying to leave it. Both paths lead to destruction if you don't respect the rules. And Tommy can't afford to ignore that truth. He has seen Ghost's double life crash, and Tariq's ambition nearly burn him alive. If he doesn't learn from both, he'll be next. Tommy Egan has always been the purest version of the street life. Where Ghost dreamed of walking away and Tariq rushed to prove himself, Tommy never lied to himself about who he was. He never wore a mask, never pretended he could become someone else. That honesty makes him one of the most dangerous men in the power universe, but it also puts him in a position where one wrong step could erase everything he's built. Because unlike Ghost and Tariq, Tommy doesn't get the excuse of being double-minded or inexperienced. He knows this life better than anyone, and that's exactly why his mistakes will be fatal if he makes them. Tommy's crossroads is clear. On one side, he can keep pushing forward with the same fire, the same loyalty, and the same raw violence that made him feared in every corner of New York and Chicago. On the other side, he can evolve, become smarter, colder, and more strategic without losing his edge. What makes this choice dangerous is that Tommy's greatest strengths are also his biggest weaknesses. His loyalty makes him stand out, but it also makes him blind. Time and time again, Tommy has put trust in people who didn't deserve it. His love for Ghost blinded him to betrayal. His loyalty to family led him into traps. His emotional nature makes him unpredictable. And in the streets, unpredictability without strategy is just another way to self-destruct. The difference between Tommy and Ghost is that Ghost wanted to be something he wasn't. The difference between Tommy and Tariq is that Tariq wanted to become something before he was ready. But Tommy doesn't want to change who he is. He wants to survive as the man he already knows himself to be. That's where the danger lies. If Tommy refuses to learn from their mistakes, if he keeps moving with pure instinct instead of strategy, he'll end up paying the same price they did. Because the streets don't care how real you are. The game doesn't reward loyalty, it punishes it. The only thing the streets respect is survival, and survival requires more than firepower. It requires wisdom. What Tommy must do differently is simple to say but hard to live. He must learn control. He can't react to every betrayal with blind rage. He can't let his emotions pull him into wars he doesn't need to fight. Every bullet he fires creates more enemies, and every enemy becomes a shadow waiting for revenge. Ghost lost his empire because he thought he could play to lives. Tariq nearly lost his life because he thought he could outsmart everyone without putting in the years. Tommy must carve out a third path, one where he stays true to himself, but also evolves into a man who can see beyond the next move. If Ghost played too many games and Tariq played too fast, Tommy has to play smarter. Another thing Tommy must understand is legacy. Ghost wanted to leave behind a name his children could carry. Tariq wanted to build a legacy that would separate him from his father. But Tommy has the chance to build a legacy that isn't about escaping or proving anything. His legacy could be about dominance, about being the last one standing, about surviving the game without folding to the same traps. But legacy only matters if you live long enough to see it. And that's the danger, because Tommy's history shows he has a pattern of letting emotions run his choices. If he doesn't break that cycle, his story will end the same way. With betrayal, bullets, and silence, the crossroads is in front of him now. Every move he makes will either separate him from Ghost and Tariq or tie him to their failures forever. If Tommy chooses survival over pride, patience over rage, and focus over chaos, he can become something neither Ghost nor Tariq could ever be: untouchable. But if he slips, if he ignores the lessons written in blood before him, then his fate is already written. Because the streets don't forgive, and the power universe doesn't give second chances, Tommy Egan can't afford to make the same mistake Ghost and Tariq did, not because he's weaker, but because he knows better. And in this world, knowing better means the price of failure is death.